Hello, welcome back to another Doodle Lucy video. It's Saturday and I've been creating today, so I filmed my process and I thought you might like to see what I've been up to. So today I've been making these birth affirmations for a client of mine, and if you watch my previous video about the cord tie, umbilical cord tie, it's the same client, so she's going to be receiving these when I see her next week. So cute, aren't they? So the words were chosen by my client. I often ask my clients if there's anything, phrases, affirmations, anything that they would find inspiring towards the end of pregnancy or during labour, or if they're planning a cesarean, maybe in the preparation and the waiting for that to happen. Often hospitals can be really overwhelming medical places, and it's really nice to have a reminder of some of the more affirming things that are going on. So this client, who is planning a straightforward vaginal birth, but you never know what might happen, has chosen some words that feel relevant to her, whatever kind of birth she ends up having. So these little ones, these three smaller ones, I decided to make because this was actually one whole quote, but sometimes it's quite nice to have something small that she can actually physically hold in her hands. And obviously we can put them up on the wall, we can do anything with them, but this one says, "My body is powerful, my body made me a mother, and my body is full of life." And then the two larger ones here, these say, "Let choice whisper in your ear and love murmur in your heart. Be ready, here comes life." Good, aren't they? And this one is very much more about a straightforward physiological vaginal birth, and she is hoping for a water birth. It says, "Rest in the calm waters, surrender to the wild ride, accept that birth will take you beyond this world, beyond time and space. Soar." So I don't know who's written these. These are words, as I said, that are chosen by my client. And my process is that I do the watercolour first, and then I do the lettering, and then I do the doodles over the top. So I filmed the whole thing. There's going to be plenty of bits that I'm going to cut out. I'm probably going to speed a lot of it up. I'm going to put some music behind it and maybe do a small amount of voiceover. And we'll just see what happens. So I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you're inspired to make something like this for yourself, or if you're a birth worker, maybe for your clients. See you soon. I'm just placing my manky piece of glass down. I always use this when I'm watercolouring, just to have a surface that I can stick the paper to. I already had some scraps of watercolour paper, so I used those to cut out 3 small pieces, and then I used a new A4 sheet and cut it in half. So this watercolour paper, it's the brand's called Mozart, and it's a cold press 300 GSM watercolour paper. And this green masking tape, I've had it a really long time. It's too sticky though, so you'll see that what I'm doing there is I'm just using the natural oils of my hands to make it a bit less sticky. And when I come to peel it off, you'll find that I do in fact take away a little bit of the paper. It's far too sticky, but it's what I've got. Okay, so mixing up my colours. This paint palette, it's a Winsor & Newton palette, and I think it's just a sort of basic entry level watercolours. There's nothing special about it, but the colours I chose to use for this project are Hooker's Green Dark, Sap Green, which I just mixed up into a palette compartment that already contained Sap Green. I tried to go for some cerulean blue, but it ended up being quite muddy. I think I don't know what happened there. I obviously did still have something else on the brush I didn't really like, and I didn't end up using that blue very much. But I also went for an intense blue as well. And much coffee was drunk during this project. So the next thing that happens is I'm just going to wet down my paper. So I'm using a wet on wet approach, and because I've got these 5 pieces of card all set up together, it's kind of like, yeah, mass production, bulk production of affirmations today. So I wet down all 5 pieces, and I worked on them all simultaneously with the watercolours before they dried. I'm just starting to drop my pre-prepared colours onto the wet paper now, so you can see that these colours are fairly saturated, and I'm just allowing the water and the paper and the paint to do its thing. There is so little skill involved here, guys. I am randomly splotching paint onto the paper, and as this project progresses, you'll see that I'm kind of making it up as I go along. They always come out different, they always come out nice, but there's very little rhyme or reason as to the placement of the colours. I'm vaguely concentrating on going around the edge with the larger blotches on the outside and some smaller splatters in the middle of each sheet. And I'm trying to be fairly consistent about the amount of each colour on each of the 5 pieces. But you'll see that I sort of slow down as the project evolves, and I take more care about where I'm placing them. But these first few blotches, I'm just going in the gaps. So much fun though, it's really good. So this is real time. I really am working very quickly here, trying to get the paint down and spreading before the paper dries. And I think that the bottom left one at this point, I was aware that it really was drying, so I'm just trying to get some more on that one fairly quickly. Yeah, I love this process. At this point I decided that I needed to be a little more precise about where some of this paint was going, so I came in with just a slightly more saturated value of that intense blue, and with a little more consideration just tried to intensify some of these areas to give a little bit more depth to the overall finished effect. Here you can see me just adding a few dark centres to some of the lighter green blotches, and just waiting, watching, considering the way that the water and the paint are travelling across the paper, because ultimately I'm going to turn these blotches into flowers. So while I want it to have a really loose, random look, there do need to be some bits of it there that do look like flowers. And so here we are sometime later. You can see that the project is now dried. And in order for me to really tune in and relax and be able to get very creative with these backgrounds that I've created, I decided to light my little burner and burn some essential oils. So the essential oils that I'm burning here today are chamomile Roman, which is a Neal's Yard, and the final tiny drop of a blend called Elevation, which is a doTERRA blend that my sister-in-law made for me. So I'm just lighting my little candle, and while those just finish drying, those watercolour pieces, I'm just letting that infuse my room for a bit. I sped up the peeling off of this tape because it took forever. I had to be really, really careful, and it did in fact peel off some of the paper, but you can't really see it on the finished project. Yeah, this is speeded up 5 times. Just taking some time here to consider what I've made. I don't know what I'm going to be doodling on these until they're completely dry and until I've spent some time looking at them, and that's one of the reasons why I tend to do the writing first. So I'm now going to transcribe the affirmations that my client chose for me. They're written down in a notebook just slightly in shot there. And you'll see me first transcribing in pencil, just to give me an idea of where the words are going to go. I do like to give myself some guidelines. And then I'll go over them in my pen, and the pen that I'm using for this is a Unipin fine line in 0.5 in black. And this is just a mechanical pencil I'm using first. So this footage is speeded up ×3. So I really am writing very slowly here. I do the main text first, and then I go back in and thicken up some of the lines to give that kind of faux calligraphy look. A bit later on in the video I'll leave some not speeded up so you can see how long that takes. I'm coming on to the bigger pieces now, and I did give quite a lot of thought to the placement of the text on these because I really wanted to make sure that I had the doodles coming in the right place, really. So I'm already starting to identify which watercolour blotches are going to be flowers, which aren't, and where the text needs to sit in the spacing of it. I'm using a putty rubber here, mouldable rubber, because I changed my mind about how many words were going to be on that first one. I've left this part real time so you can see how long it takes to form these letters and how slowly I'm actually going. That's enough of that. Let's speed up again. At this point, all of those pencil lines are going to get rubbed out, so I've speeded this bit up really super fast. And now it's time for that faux calligraphy look. So I'm going to go back over all of my lettering and just make those down strokes a little bit bigger. So using that same Unipin fine line 0.5 in black, just reinforcing those down strokes. And I've left the first bit in real time, and I'll speed it up again. I always think this style of faux calligraphy is much more akin to drawing than writing. I can take this opportunity of going back over the letters to really reform them and reshape them, deciding which side of my original line I want to widen, and thereby reshaping the letters. It's very, very soothing, very meditative. I do love it. Okay, let's speed it up again from here, shall we? Just wanted to give another real-time moment for the word saw. Now that the lettering's done, it's time to go in with the doodles. I'm starting with a Uniball Signo 0.38 in black. And I take my time here, just looking for what the watercolour splotches are telling me. And I'm looking for flowers. I'm looking for flowers that I can outline, that I can suggest are there. And I'm working across all 5 pieces at the same time, which means that I'm trying to emulate the same shapes across all the pieces. It doesn't always work quite that way, but I've left a few in real time and most of them speeded up, so you can see how this works. Enjoy. let's see another couple in real time. Really just to point out how long it takes me to work out where these flowers actually need to be. There's a lot of sitting in this process, a lot of looking. I was struggling a bit to get that pen to flow smoothly, so at this point I've moved back to my uni pin. So this is the 0.1 uni pin fine line in black. It's really similar. I think it produces a very similar line to the previous pen, but it just flows a bit better, I think. At this point I was really struggling. I had a real dilemma. I didn't want to add any more in black ink and override all that writing, so I actually did something I've never done before. I took my pencil and I decided to add some flowers in pencil. Really interesting experiment. I really like the way they came out. This isn't something I've tried before, but I will definitely be doing it again. I absolutely loved it, especially when I hit on the idea of smudging this. Here I go. It really, such a different effect to the pen ones. Yeah, I really like that. And now I'm changing to another pen again. This is a Unival Signo White, and the size is broad. I quite often do this. I will use a white roller pen to add a little bit of interest and difference, picking out not so much whole flowers, but just a suggestion of flowers. And then quite often, as in fact I did in this case, doodling in a way that really is less informed by the paint splodges. So what I'm about to do is add some leaves with this white pen, just taking up some of the spaces where I really like the shape that the paint has made, but I don't want to put flowers there. So I feel like this white pen really just draws attention to those areas. I was struggling a bit with this pen. I clearly need a new one. Yeah, it was skipping quite a lot. But yeah, I love this pen. It's a good pen. I'll get another one the same. So here they are. And the final thing that I just needed to do was to take my stamp. This is a custom stamp made by a company called Stamp It. And I like to use a Trodat black ink pad and just stamp the Crafty Lucy, handmade with love. This is a stamp that I had made when I used to make and sell crocheted and knitted teaching aids, menu placentas and uteruses, and send them all across the world. I don't do that anymore. I sell the patterns now. But yes, I always used to put a label with this stamp. So thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been fun to make. See you soon. Bye.